Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're analyzing a seismic shift it's already underway. The move from AI as a helpful tool to AI as a fully autonomous workforce. We are diving into the architecture of 2026, the year when these systems really stop waiting for human input and start executing entire complex projects all by themselves.
That's the critical pivot, right? We're not just talking about, incremental improvements to the automation we already have.
No.
The fundamental relationship between humans and machines is changing. For 2026, AI agents, they transition from this kind of experimental concept to an undeniable operational reality.
An operational reality.
Yeah, one that organizations must integrate, oversee, and I think most importantly, govern. The challenge has decisively moved from experimentation, how can we use agents, to integration and decisive oversight.
Our mission today is to cut through the massive hype surrounding AI and give you the foundational intelligence you need. We synthesized an incredibly deep stack of reports. Everything from cutting-edge technical analyses of new voice synthesis models to major enterprise architecture forecasts. And, critically, the global policy shifts that define the new rulebook.
A lot to unpack.
A lot to unpack. We're going to get into the architecture of autonomy, the revolution in voice interfaces, the, frankly, chilling deepfake crisis it unleashes, and the necessary regulatory response shaping the next few years.
And we frame this entire deep dive around one central duality.
Okay.
The very power of these autonomous agents, their ability to act without human intervention, is precisely the source of human vulnerability. Every single breakthrough we discuss in efficiency, it simultaneously creates a new pressure point of trust and security that must be managed by human judgment.
Okay, let's unpack this monumental shift then, starting with the technical architecture itself. We begin with the fundamental technical change. This architectural leap from simple task automation to full workflow orchestration. Previously, AI was, a smart assistant that waited for a human to finish step A before helping with step B. What does full ownership of the workflow look like in practical terms for an enterprise?
It's really the difference between a co-pilot and a general contractor.
Okay, I like that.
In the past, AI helped a human execute a single, isolated step like, say, drafting a summary or refining a spreadsheet.
Sure.
Now the agent takes full ownership of the end-to-end outcome. The human defines the final intent, the goal, and the agent handles the planning, the sequencing, tool selection, execution.
The whole 9 yards?
The whole 9 yards, and, crucially, the complex error correction when things inevitably go wrong mid-process.
Can you give us a concrete example of that complex execution chain? Because it sounds like this involves calling on, multiple pieces of software and APIs.
Oh, absolutely. Consider a market activation operation, which is a classic multi-step workflow.
Okay.
You give the agent the goal. Launch a new product line in Southeast Asia to target professionals earning over X salary, ensuring compliance with local data laws.
A big, complex goal.
A huge goal. A legacy system would require dozens of manual handoffs, approvals, the drill. The autonomous agent, and this is drawing on analytics Vithia's analysis, it doesn't wait. It initiates the whole chain. It plans the market research sequence, it calls the internal knowledge base for past performance data, uses external APIs to gather competitor pricing.
So it's pulling from internal and external sources.
Brilliantly. Then it drafts a multivariant content strategy, generates the creative assets using generative tools, posts the campaign through a specialized ad platform API, monitors the click-through rates.
And what if something goes wrong? Like, what if a campaign channel bombs?
That's the key. If it sees a sudden dip in one channel, it autonomously pauses that channel, reallocates the budget, and generates a new headline variant, all without any human intervention between those steps.
So the human is essentially removed from the loop between defining the goal and evaluating the final result. But that sounds like that's an immense amount of cognitive load for a single large language model to maintain across days or even weeks. How does it track all those dependencies and ensure continuity?
It can't, not reliably. And this is precisely why multi-agent systems, or MAS, become the default architecture in 2026. The sources are definitive on this. The single monolithic agent is just inadequate for real-world complexity, which often involves dozens of dependencies, external APIs, and compliance checks.
So the intelligence is distributed, it's a team.
It's a team.
Why is this specialization so mandatory, though? Is it purely for scale, or does it address some fundamental weaknesses in the underlying models?
It addresses both, but primarily it's about the fundamental weaknesses. A single agent suffers from what's called context decay or long-tail failure.
Okay.
A model that's expertly tuned for, say, creating generation might be terrible at validating security protocols or accurately interacting with a deeply nested database schema.
Right, different skill sets.
Exactly. By splitting the workflow into coordinated roles, you mitigate those risks and you increase reliability. We're seeing a common structure emerge. You have a chief planning agent that defines the high-level strategy,
The big picture.
the big picture. Then you have several execution agents handling the actual clicking, API calls, data manipulation. A validation agent rigorously checks the output against defined constraints, like budget or policy.
Then I'm guessing a security agent.
Of course, an observability agent is constantly monitoring system context and security, often using RAG on internal logs to ensure continuity.
So the key challenge shifts dramatically from managing the complexity of a single agent to managing the coordination friction between those specialized agents.
That's a brilliant way to put it. Instead of managing human interdepartmental friction, we are now managing agent coordination friction. Gardner and Andreessen Horowitz's reports, they both emphasize that this modularity makes the entire operation far more robust and scalable. If the creative agent fails to meet a compliance constraint, the validation agent simply passes the rejection back to the planning agent to select an alternate tool or rerun the process.
Without the entire workflow collapsing.
Exactly. It's robustness through redundancy.
That also fundamentally changes the vendor landscape, doesn't it? You're not buying one AI assistant anymore.
Not at all.
You're buying an orchestration layer and a suite of specialized workers that have to communicate flawlessly.
Precisely. The value moves up the stack to the orchestration layer, the software that intelligently manages Agent A's dependencies on Agent B, ensuring the data passed between them is clean, contextually sound, and correctly formatted for the next step.
That is the core competitive ground now.
It is, because the underlying foundational models are, they're becoming commoditized. The ability to coordinate is the new infrastructure.
Okay, so once this multi-agent team is architected, the next monumental hurdle is integration. They have to integrate into the enterprise without breaking people, processes, or critically systems. And the mandate for 2026 is grounding.
Grounding, or what the sources are calling context plumbing, is the non-negotiable prerequisite for enterprise agents in 2026.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah, this addresses the existential threat of AI hallucination. An ungrounded agent operating with autonomy is a catastrophic liability because it will invent facts or act on outdated, wrong information.
Right.
The hard weakness of all LLMs becomes impossible to ignore when the system can actually execute tasks independently.
So grounding isn't just a basic database connection then. It's connecting the AI to the verified real-time operational truth and policy of the company.
Exactly. It's an ongoing mandatory investment in verified data. Enterprises must invest heavily in sourcing context from verified real-time enterprise data. This includes everything from CRMs and ERPs to internal knowledge bases, policy documents, and system logs.
And so it's not just accessing the CRM.
No, it's embedding the agent in the real-time operational context, making sure it knows that the policy document updated 10 minutes ago, policy 5.4, instantly supersedes policy 5.3.
I see.
This adherence to internal policy is what validates trust. Without that deep real-time context plumbing, the agent is just a very, very fast risk generator.
And reliable grounding allows these autonomous systems to cross a truly critical line, executing commerce and payments.
This is a massive threshold. It raises the stakes for governance exponentially.
I'll bet.
The autonomy of these agents moves into monetary transactions. Agents will move beyond merely recommending products or services to forming a critical part of the purchase and online shopping experiences by carrying out end-to-end transactions autonomously.
So an agent managing the internal supply chain, ordering components, vetting suppliers, paying invoices.
And reconciling the ledger, all without human sign-off on every single step.
Given that they are operating machine speed and handling real money, security must also become agentic. We're moving away from reactive human alerts to autonomous action.
Yes, security has to shift from reactive alerts to what is being termed agentic response. Since agents operate at machine speed, executing transactions and workflow steps potentially thousands of times faster than a human security team cannot possibly intervene in time.
So the security system itself must be an agent.
It has to be.
What does that autonomous action look like? And I mean, what does that mean for the human security team's liability or audit trail?
Right.
That sounds like a huge policy headache.
Well, the security agent detects an anomaly, a spending limit breached, an unusual geolocation on an API call, or an internal data leak attempt, and it autonomously executes a protective, predefined action.
Like what?
This might mean isolating the compromised endpoint, revoking the agent's specific API key, or immediately freezing the associated financial account.
And the liability.
Regarding liability, this necessitates meticulously detailed logs and audit trails, defining precisely why the agent took the action and under what specific policy constraint. It's complex, yes, but this autonomous capability is necessary for survival in an agentic world.
This technical reality, it has immense implications for the employee. I mean, if the agent handles the planning, the execution, the transaction, and the initial security response, what is the value proposition of the human worker?
The human role fundamentally shifts from being the doer to being the director. Employees become AI orchestrators, or as one source put it, conductors of these digital workflows. Your intellectual value is no longer in completing the tasks, but in setting the precise intent, defining clear business goals and constraints, and most importantly, providing oversight and judgment when the agent's execution hits an ethical, legal, or a highly nuanced business gray area.
But if the complexity is being handled by the agent, and the human is only setting the intent, aren't we just creating highly paid prompt engineers? Where is the real intellectual value if the agent is handling the data and the execution?
The value is not in the prompt. The value is in the constraint and the evaluation.
Yeah.
An effective orchestrator needs deep business acumen to define what success looks like, what the maximum acceptable risk is, and what policies cannot be violated. This requires leadership and strategic thinking far beyond technical prompting.
So new roles are emerging.
Absolutely. Gartner and PwC both point to the emergence of new roles focused purely on agent supervision and governance, defining the digital factory floor rules, reviewing audit trails, and stepping in for exceptions.
And this accelerates the demand for a specific kind of worker, the AI generalist.
It does. When execution-heavy, mid-tier tasks, the specialized, repeatable work are automated, the specialization model changes. Companies start prioritizing deep but narrow expertise.
M said.
Instead, greater value is placed on individuals who understand the business end-to-end, the AI generalist, who can supervise, guide, and evaluate agent-driven work across different functions: marketing, finance, customer service.
So the McKinsey and World Economic Forum analysis shows that these hybrid human-agent roles will favor broad contextual understanding and high-level judgment over narrow, deep specialization. It's almost a return to strategic thinking.
It is. The competitive edge lies not in your coding skills, but in the ability to understand how a workflow impacts the entire business ecosystem, and then applying human judgment reasoning, ethics, creative direction to guide the agent's work.
So it's the ability to contextualize the work, not execute it.
Precisely.
And the productivity data from Canarica suggests this shift is worth the pain and the training investment.
The ROI is striking. Employees actively using AI for work tasks save an average of 7.5 hours per week.
That's more than a full workday reclaimed.
It is. And smart organizations are already redirecting that time toward high-leverage activities: strategic planning, innovation, creative direction, all the things agents cannot yet authentically provide. The economic incentive to manage this shift correctly is enormous.
So we have powerful, autonomous agents that are coordinated in teams. But how does the human boss effectively tell them what to do? If our current interface is just clunky keyboards and slow cloud commands, that integration is going to fail. That's why the true revolution is happening in the interface itself, voice, which is demanding a radical architectural rethink.
That's the exact pressure point. The challenge for 2026 is overcoming the fundamental limitations of traditional cloud-centric AI.
Right.
Legacy voice systems, they often fail the real-world test in noisy environments. In the car, on a factory floor, in a chaotic home office, due to crippling latency, the prohibitive cost of continuous cloud processing, and their inability to handle that real-world chaos.
And Gartner noted that nearly half of AI models never even reach production for that very reason.
Exactly, because they can't handle that messy reality.
Cloud-centric pipelines are too slow and too expensive to be truly always on. So the reference design for 2026 is what? Mimicking human cognition, splitting the intelligence into a dual system, the reflex and the reasoning layers.
That's the hybrid voice AI model, which is rapidly becoming the industry standard reference design. This is all detailed by Cardome and Deloitte.
Okay.
It's the strategic shift from cloud-first to device-first cloud-augmented. It saves on latency and cost while dramatically increasing reliability and privacy.
Let's break down the economics and function of the reflex layer system 1, the device AI. What is it handling locally on my phone or my smart speaker?
The reflex layer is the high-performance on-device intelligence. It runs high-performance small language models, or SLMs, on specialized silicon NPUs, AI accelerators, built right into the device's chip.
And this layer handles the simple stuff.
It handles the vast majority of daily, simple interactions, about 80% of them. Things like turn the volume up or set an alarm.
And because it runs locally, the speed is essentially instant, but the advantages are more strategic than just speed, I'm
Oh,
guessing.
well, absolutely. We're talking sub 200 milliseconds latency, which is necessary for a truly conversational experience. But three critical advantages make this architecture mandatory. First, dramatically enhanced data privacy.
Because my voice never leaves the device.
Your acoustic fingerprint stays local. Second, accurate 3D voice capture, allowing for sophisticated spatial audio analysis right on the chip. Third, a reliable, always responsive interface, independent of network conditions or server load.
So if my Wi-Fi drops, the lights still turn on.
Lights still turn on.
Then you have System 2, the reasoning layer, which is the expensive heavyweight LLM in the cloud. That's only activated when absolutely necessary.
Correct. The device AI acts as a sophisticated gatekeeper. It only activates the cloud LLMs when it encounters a complex query that requires deep knowledge retrieval, complex reasoning.
Like what?
Like integrating multiple facts to deduce a non-obvious answer or creative generation. This resource conservation addresses the prohibitive cost of running those massive LLMs continuously in the cloud for every trivial request.
Right. If you had to hit a trillion parameter cloud model every time you asked for the time, the business model would be completely unsustainable.
Exactly.
This hybrid approach is what enables the massive market growth forecasts we're seeing.
It is. The voice-based AI companion product market is expected to surge from around $12 billion in 2025 to over $63 billion by 2035.
Wow.
Yeah, at a 17.75% CAGR. Ubiquity depends entirely on making the interface affordable and instant, and this hybrid architecture is the key to achieving that economic and technical balance.
To move past the clunky chatbot era, though, the system needs to perceive and express intent like a human. Let's start with perception solving the chaos problem, which makes spatial awareness mandatory.
The standard has moved beyond simple direction of arrival, or DOA.
Okay.
The technology is now spatial hearing AI, which pinpoints a sound source's precise location in 3D space. This is essential for solving the chaos problem, separating the target speaker from overlapping voices, television noise, or background activity in a communal or office environment.
The device has to know, are they talking to me or are they talking to the person next to them?
Exactly. And the intelligence that interprets that clean audio stream and determines intent is called cognition AI. This is typically a lightweight SLM running on the device, linked to the reflex layer. Its job is to maintain short-term conversational context, the memory of the ongoing dialogue, and couple that with the spatial information.
This is how it determines intent.
This is how it determines if the utterance "turn the lights on" is a direct command, or if the utterance "I wonder if we should turn the lights on soon" is just ambient discussion.
And if the agent interrupts a conversation you're having with a colleague because it misinterpreted ambient discussion as a command, the whole experience fails.
It fails completely.
This contextual filtering is absolutely critical for building trust.
It is the barrier to adoption. Once the agent perceives and understands intent, we move to expressiveness, emotional synthesis. The goal is a voice that is not just audible, but relatable and trustworthy, conveying joy, sadness, excitement, empathy.
How are modern systems achieving this human-like expression beyond just, monotonic intonation?
It's a sophisticated, multi-stage pipeline. This is outlined in the research from Speechify and Shadecoder. It starts with deep text analysis to identify emotional markers. This feeds into prosody prediction, where the AI plans the emphasis, pauses, rate, and specific emotional tone required for the sentence.
And only then does it make the sound.
Only then does it execute the final waveform synthesis. Crucially, these systems now allow explicit, granular control over intensity, rate, and emotional tone.
And why is that granular emotional control so essential for the applications we are seeing in 2026? It sounds like more than just a novelty.
It's a functional requirement because empathy is often non-negotiable for human interaction. Consider empathetic customer service, where a frustrated caller needs the AI to sound calm and reassuring,
Yeah.
or applications in healthcare and wellness coaching, where the AI must use encouraging or comforting tones to foster trust.
Or e-learning.
In e-learning, emotional variation in an instructor's voice is proven to aid retention. Emotion makes the agent feel like a proactive teammate, not just a static tool.
This level of emotional expressiveness is only possible because of some radical technical breakthroughs. Let's look at two key models the industry is buzzing about, starting with Index TTS2, the open source breakthrough from late 2025.
Index TTS2 is hailed as a major breakthrough because it tackles two long-standing synthesis problems that crippled high-quality audio production.
Okay.
The first innovation is emotion timbre separation.
Explain that decoupling. Why was that such a challenge previously?
In older cloning models, if you cloned a specific person's voice, their unique timbre, the quality that makes them recognizable, and then wanted them to say a sentence with intense excitement, you had to find a clip of that specific person sounding excited.
So the emotion was baked into the voice sample.
Exactly. The emotion was often intrinsically linked to the speaker's identity in the model. Index TTS2 disentangles them.
So you can use the unique sonic signature of a target voice, the timbre, and independently control the emotional delivery, sourcing that emotion from a completely separate audio clip or even just a textual command.
Exactly. Think of it like being able to use a professional actor's recognizable voice to deliver dialogue with the fast, elated tone of a completely separate voice sample.
Something that was technologically impossible to do cleanly before.
It was. That independent control is a massive creative and efficiency win for high-end media production, dubbing, and localization, allowing creators to reuse voice prints with infinite emotional range.
And the second innovation addresses a major pain point for video and film: synchronization.
Precise duration control. Video dubbing demands that the translated audio fit the exact time constraints of the original, often down to the millisecond, to match lip movements and scene timing.
Which autoregressive models struggled with?
They did. They often spit out speech that was either too fast or too slow. Index TTS2 is the first autoregressive zero-shot TTS model to offer that millisecond-level duration control, making it essential for applications requiring strict audio-visual synchronization.
The community feedback on this model even calls it film-grade quality, suggesting users can obtain professional actor-level dubbing at extremely low cost. I mean, that dramatically undercuts the entire legacy dubbing industry.
That's the industry impact. Meanwhile, Microsoft addressed the computational scale required for long-form audio with Vibe Voice.
Right, generating a 90-minute multi-speaker expressive audio track sounds computationally insane for an LLM. How did they solve that cost problem?
Vibe Voice 1.5b is designed for endurance, not just speed. They solved the computational cost not by making the LLM smaller, but by strategically slowing the token output using low frame rate tokenizers, specifically 7.5 hertz.
Okay.
This allows the model to maintain the complexity and context required for up to 90 minutes of speech with 4 distinct interacting speakers without demanding the continuous high-speed processing needed for a real-time conversational agent.
So it's strategically sacrificing immediate speed for long-haul stability and endurance.
Precisely. And they enhance the realism further by allowing control via nonverbal tags like laughs and gasps, moving the audio generation beyond pure text-to-speech into narrative audio generation.
Perfect for audiobooks and immersive dialogue experiences.
Exactly. And we noted that for those building their own AI infrastructure, open source models are now production mature.
So they're competitive with the commercial tools.
They are. Models like XTTS v2 are well known for their cross-lingual cloning across over 20 languages.
Meaning you can train a voice in English and have it speak flawless Spanish in the same timbre.
Exactly. And Chatterbox is notable for its real-time speed and, crucially, for having built-in watermarking for authenticity protection, which is a necessary preemptive move.
These architectural shifts and technical breakthroughs manifest most visibly in consumer devices. The Pixel 10's voice translate feature is a perfect case study in the real-world trade-offs of this hybrid AI model.
The core mechanic is impressive. It translates calls in real time, and generates speech in the original speaker's voice. This is running on device, leveraging the Tensor G5 chip and the integrated Gemini Nano model.
Enabling privacy and reliability even if you're on a wobbly signal.
Right. It supports English plus 10 other languages, including Spanish, German, and Russian.
But testing shows that while it's fast for AI, it struggles acutely with the fluid cadences of natural conversation.
It absolutely disrupts the natural flow. The turnaround time is typically 1 to 2 seconds per short turn.
Which feels like an eternity in a conversation.
It does. While impressive technologically, that delay falls outside optimal telecom latency guidance. G115 posits that delays over 150 milliseconds begin to eat into the natural back and forth.
Wow.
When you have a 2-second delay on every speaker turn, the conversation turns into stiff, halting monologues.
You lose the rhythm.
You lose the rhythm, the urgency, and the opportunity for natural interruption.
And the quality of the generated voice is where the emotional synthesis we just discussed hasn't quite caught up with real-time demands.
It carries an AI gloss. The voice gets the speaker's unique tone. The timbre, mostly right, but the vital element of prosody, the pauses, the emotional stress, the subtle emphasis, is often flattened or lost in translation.
So the intonation is noticeably mechanical.
It is, lacking the human warmth or skepticism of the original speech.
And accuracy suffers when chaos enters the picture. Idioms, sarcasm, code switching, or interruptions.
Oh, idioms and sarcasm remain the Achilles heel. We saw an anecdote in the source material about a common conversational sign-off, "hang up now," being translated verbatim,
Oh no.
as if the user intended to physically go hang on something, leading to confusion and awkwardness.
A perfect example of how semantic accuracy still falls short of deep contextual understanding.
Exactly, especially when dealing with colloquialisms. The technology is best used for short, transactional, task-oriented calls, booking logistics, confirming times, but it struggles with complexity and human nuance.
Beyond translation, though, the deep integration of AI into these devices is creating entirely new, proactive user experiences. Let's talk about Magic Q and Gemini Live.
Magic Q is the proactive feature that acts as a context engine, constantly connecting data dots across your primary apps: Gmail, calendar, messages.
So if my colleague texts me, "What's the gate number for flight 405 tomorrow?"
Magic Q automatically references your Gmail itinerary, pulls the current flight details, and suggests sharing that information right in the Messages app. It's high-value, in-context support running securely on the Tensor G5 chip.
And Gemini Live is moving toward true multimodal interaction, giving the agent literal sight.
It offers visual decision support. It connects to the phone's camera or screen, allowing the agent to see what you see.
Okay.
If you share your camera, Gemini Live can provide guidance by highlighting solutions directly on the screen, a very literal form of decision support, perfect for complex technical setup or troubleshooting.
And Gboard now offers full rewrites.
Full rewrites in a specified style, and it integrates voice commands for rephrasing, completing that voice-first experience.
The power and speed of these agents, driven by this hybrid architecture, are undeniable. But this hyper-expressive, easily cloned voice technology has created a catastrophic new threat landscape. The duality we discussed is now manifesting insecurity.
This is a profound security shift. The ability to create human-like voices at scale has fundamentally broken the human security model that relies on hearing a familiar voice to confirm identity.
It's terrifying.
AI voice generators are now replicating not just the pitch, but the emotional nuance, the regional accent, the precise cadence.
It only takes a few seconds of audio.
Often just 30 to 90 seconds of publicly available audio.
That is disturbing because our brains are hardwired to trust a voice we know, especially when it conveys urgency or authority. The system is weaponizing trust itself.
That's the core vulnerability being exploited. Deepfake vishing voice phishing has evolved from simple, generic social engineering into an industrialized crime vector driven by agentic AI.
Industrialized.
Yes. The reports from Encode and Right-Hand Cybersecurity show that voice-based attacks are now outpacing video deepfakes in both frequency and financial impact.
Why that?
Mainly because they are easier, faster, and cheaper to pull off with a lower barrier to entry.
And the financial losses are massive and immediate. The example of the European energy conglomerate is a chilling illustration of this.
Yes, the stark case study of the energy conglomerate that lost $25 million in early 2025.
Wow.
Attackers used a deepfake audio clone of the CFO to issue live instructions for an urgent wire transfer to the finance team, replicating the CFO's precise pauses, tone, and recognizable cadence exactly.
They weaponize trust itself. If my CEO calls me with urgency, my instinct is to act, not run a C2PA check.
That's the problem.
What are the main drivers making this kind of crime vector so accessible and scalable?
There are three forces converging. First, the accessibility and cost of the generative tools. Attackers don't need high-end studio equipment. The tools are cheap, ubiquitous, and often open source.
Second, the training data.
The infinite availability of training data. Every executive, manager, or target who has done an interview, webinar, or public speech has provided 30 seconds of high-quality training audio, readily available on social media.
And third, the AI-generated content bypasses our old human security checks.
Exactly. The AI creates flawless, convincing content. We used to tell people, look for spelling mistakes or poor grammar in phishing emails. That advice is completely obsolete now.
Delete.
Yeah, when the attacker is using sophisticated agentic AI to create highly polished, flawless, and personalized deepfakes. The content itself provides no visual or auditory cues that it's synthetic.
The attack vectors themselves are becoming much more sophisticated in targeting. We're seeing a significant diversification in targeting, moving away from just the very top of the organization.
The focus is moving from cloning the CEO to targeting mid-level managers and department heads. It's easier to impersonate a mid-level manager within a specific operational context, making the scam more believable.
Especially when combined with scraped personal details.
Exactly. The attacker exploits the specific internal logic of that department. We're also seeing sophisticated multi-channel attacks. Deepfake voice clones are combined with SMS phishing smishing to create highly sophisticated multi-signal campaigns.
So you get a text notification with an urgent wire request.
Immediately followed by the voice call from your manager confirming the text, the signals reinforce each other, short-circuiting rational caution.
And retail banking is struggling with deepfake calls, targeting customers directly.
Retail banks and telecoms are reporting massive waves of these attacks targeting customers, tricking them into verifying account details or setting up urgent security features.
And they use a cloned voice of a family member.
Or even a convincing clone of the bank's own automated voice prompt. The customer's guard is instantly dropped, leading to account takeover.
The hyper-personalization of spear phishing is also now enabled by data abundance.
Absolutely. Attackers use personal details scraped from platforms like LinkedIn to tailor deepfakes, mentioning a recent company event or a client deliverable, making the request highly personalized and thus much harder to doubt.
And the psychological tactics are the necessary glue that makes the technology work.
They are. Deepfakes are consistently combined with extreme urgency. Do this now. Specifically designed to overwhelm rational, critical thinking.
And what about the fallout? The risk is compounded by regulatory and insurance gaps.
The insurance industry is struggling to keep pace. Research shows that less than 30% of standard cyber policies comprehensively cover AI-driven social engineering fraud.
Less than 30%.
Yeah, and even where coverage exists, proving the deepfake use is incredibly difficult. Proving that an audible, authoritative voice on a recorded line was AI, not human error, creates massive legal and financial friction, slowing payouts and increasing the long-term financial loss after an attack.
The conclusion is clear. The technology is ahead of our ability to secure and insure against it. The response must be a global rulebook, which brings us to the crucial concept of the trust layer.
The only viable response to industrialized deepfake crime is to mandate that the content itself carries verifiable credentials. This is the goal of content authenticity.
Define that for us again. What does it mean for a digital file to have authenticity beyond just a timestamp?
It's the ability to cryptographically verify the origin, integrity, and history of any digital content, images, video, or audio using secure metadata.
So it's like a mandatory tamper-evident travel history for the file.
Exactly. From the moment of creation onward, ensuring traceability back to a known and trustworthy source.
And the standard driving this global effort is C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, which was fast-tracked as an ISO standard in 2025.
C2PA provides what is essentially a cryptographic manifest or nutrition label embedded within the digital file.
A nutrition label, I like that.
Yeah. This manifest stores verifiable metadata. Who created the file, when, And critically, what tools, including which specific AI model, were used to generate or modify it.
And because it's cryptographically signed and embedded, if an attacker strips the data or alters the file, the entire provenance chain breaks, and the system can flag it as untrustworthy.
Exactly. The authenticity manifest is tamper evident. We are seeing extremely rapid adoption. C2PA is already integrated by major distribution platforms like LinkedIn and Meta.
And news agencies.
Publishers like Reuters, the BBC, and AFP are using it to verify media integrity. And significantly, institutions like the Library of Congress are exploring C2PA use for digital preservation.
So they recognize that documenting the lineage of content is paramount for historical record-keeping in the age of generative AI.
It is.
Watermarking seems to be the necessary complement, acting as a redundant signal in case the metadata is stripped by sophisticated attackers.
It is the necessary multi-signal strategy. Watermarks and content credentials are being encouraged as a layered approach to combat misinformation. Tools like Google's SynthID secretly embed imperceptible watermarks into images generated by models like Imagen.
So even if an attacker manages to remove the C2PA metadata,
The watermark, which is robust against common tampering techniques like cropping or slight compression, can still signal the file's synthetic origin. It's a layer of defense against sophisticated attempts to hide an AI origin.
this shift toward technical provenance is now being backed by regulatory teeth, moving past abstract ethical guidelines to mandatory compliance with firm deadlines and severe financial penalties. The EU AI Act is setting the global standard here, particularly Article 50 concerning synthetic voice.
The EU AI Act is the most comprehensive legislation to date. Article 50 imposes cross-cutting transparency duties on all synthetic media, including audio and voice deepfakes.
The requirement is mandatory.
Mandatory. Companies must clearly label any AI-generated or AI-altered content so the end user knows they are not interacting with a human or an authentic recording.
And the timelines here are immediate and serious.
They are fixed. Transparency obligations for general-purpose AI providers start in August 2025. But the critical deadline is August 2026, when full enforcement of Article 50 takes effect for all AI providers.
And the financial risks for non-compliance are severe.
Up to 7% of a company's annual global revenue, or 15 million USD, whichever is higher. This forces companies to design compliance into the architecture right now.
Meanwhile, the United States is tackling this from both federal and state angles.
Federally, the FCC has already declared that AI-generated voices in robocalls are illegal under the TCPA, and they're tightening consent rules for telemarketing. But the major momentum is at the state level. California's AI Transparency Act, AB 942, takes effect on January 1st, 2026, and is described as the most comprehensive state transparency legislation. It applies to virtually all companies serving content to California users, regardless of where the company is headquartered.
And Tennessee's been particularly proactive in protecting voice clones, recognizing the specific threat to artists.
The Tennessee Elvis Act, effective July 1st, 2024, is pivotal. It explicitly adds voice, the unique sound, and timbre to right of publicity protections.
What does that mean in practice?
It means unauthorized AI voice replication triggers both civil and criminal exposure, setting a high legal bar for the consent required to clone a voice, particularly those of artists, performers, or public figures.
And the transparency push is truly global, with China also setting its own deadlines for synthetic media.
China's mandatory labeling measures for synthetic media, including audio, take effect on September 1, 2025. If you're operating internationally, you must comply with EU, state-level US, and Chinese mandates simultaneously.
A unified global push for transparency.
Absolutely, across all synthetic media.
Bringing this full circle, the need to manage autonomous agents and hyper-real deepfakes is driving a shift in how we approach AI governance. It's moving from abstract theoretical ethics to the concrete question of institutional survival.
That survival frame is essential for enterprise leaders. The existence of rogue agents, autonomous systems that go off policy, is now a recognized new threat class.
So we need new security platforms.
We need security platforms specifically engineered to monitor, constrain, and neutralize the complex, autonomous actions of agent systems. On the business side, there's intense pressure to demonstrate ROI. Agents are no longer novelties, they must deliver clear value. Companies will quickly kill experimental agents that lack clear business value and measurable returns on investment.
So the governance conversation is driven by a cost-benefit analysis.
It is the risk of an ungrounded, unsupervised agent versus the clear, measurable productivity gains.
But the ethical questions don't disappear, especially with the explosion of personalized AI companions.
Quite the opposite. The rise of AI companions and mentors for mental wellness, coaching, elder support raises critical societal ethical questions about dependency, the potential for manipulation if the AI is leveraged for profit, and the dissemination of disinformation presented as personal counsel.
So policymakers are starting to call for digital emotional safety standards.
They are to manage the psychological implications of these powerful, trusted, autonomous voices.
So what's the compliance blueprint for companies developing voice AI today, given all these converging risks and regulations?
They need a comprehensive transparency checklist focusing on consent and disclosure. Specifically, they must obtain recorded, revocable consent for voice clones.
Okay.
Provide clear in-band disclosure during interactions that the user is speaking to AI unless it is genuinely obvious.
And use both watermarks and metadata.
Yes. Combine robust audio watermarks with metadata credentials for multi-signal verification. And they must actively block attempts to clone protected or high-risk voices like politicians, minors, or celebrities without verified consent. This is the operational baseline for building trustworthy AI in the agentic future.
What a rigorous and necessary deep dive into the architecture of 2026. We've established that AI has undergone a fundamental architectural shift, moving from simple assistance to autonomous orchestration, where specialized agents manage entire end-to-end workflows.
Right.
This power is driven by a new hybrid voice architecture that puts emotional, context-aware AI directly onto your device, making instant assistance a reliable reality.
And we saw the stark duality this creates. The same hyper-expressive voice technology, easily cloned, fuels the alarming threat of industrialized deepfake phishing, weaponizing human trust for massive financial fraud.
But the global counter-response is a clear, mandatory push for transparency, enforced by authentication standards like C2PA and strict regulatory deadlines across major global economies that demand clear labeling and verifiable consent.
The technology, the MAS, the hybrid voice, the emotionally responsive AI is now officially infrastructure, not novelty.
The operational challenge has moved entirely from invention to integration and governance.
Indeed. The future of work is defined by a changing leadership dynamic. We are transitioning from partners in execution to the strategic conductors and governors of complex autonomous systems. We have to shift our focus from optimizing the clicks to optimizing the intent, the constraint, and the final judgment.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you today. We've established that AI systems are rapidly gaining emotion and independence, executing commerce, and operating in the physical world. If the future of work is truly defined by employees becoming conductors of workflows for systems they must oversee and govern, where the agent handles the data and the execution, what specific human skill reasoning, creative direction, or nuanced human judgment will provide the most competitive and unauditable edge for individuals in the agentic future? Think about what happens in the gray area that the agent can't touch, and where the human provides the only genuine source of value. That's the competitive territory of tomorrow.